The night the nurse realized the organ listing was fake, the hospital lights flickered, as if the building itself was holding its breath. A child was dying on the 7th floor. A biker father was praying in silence beside a vending machine, and a single line of corrupted data was about to change dozens of lives in ways no one could have imagined. Before this story unfolds any further, pause for a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet bravery of ordinary people, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only travel as far as hearts allow them to. The nurse's name was Mara, and she had learned to read pain the way sailors read weather. She worked double shifts in pediatric critical care, surviving on lukewarm coffee and a stubborn belief that doing the right thing mattered even when no one was watching. The boy had been admitted months earlier with a failing liver, his body shrinking while the machines around him grew louder. His father, a large man with tattooed hands and eyes permanently braced for violence, never left the floor. Everyone knew he rode with the Hells Angels, and most staff kept their distance, but Mara noticed how gently he wiped his son's forehead and how carefully he folded hospital blankets like they were something sacred. The transplant list was their only hope, or so it seemed. Each week the father would ask the same question, and each week the answer would carry the same crushing weight. Still waiting, still no match. Mara watched the boy fade while the system promised fairness and delivered nothing. Then one exhausted night, while reconciling records, she noticed something wrong. The child's name appeared active on the transplant list, but the timestamps made no sense. The approval loops circled back on themselves, referrals that vanished into dead ends, priority flags that had been quietly downgraded. It looked official, but it was. A shell, a cruel illusion of progress. Mara felt the room tilt. Reporting it meant risking her job, her license, and possibly her safety. The hospital had donors and politics had teeth. But a child was being erased by paperwork. She dug deeper, tracing the false listing to a private broker siphoning organs to the highest bidder. The system had not failed, it had been used. With shaking hands, she escalated the findings through every ethical channel she could find, attaching evidence, dates, names. The response was silence, then pressure, then a warning to let it go. She did not. Within days, the listing was corrected, the fraud exposed, and the hospital went into damage control. The boy was moved to true priority, and a donor match arrived just in time. Surgery was long and brutal, and Mara waited in the hallway long after her shift ended, staring at the floor like it might answer her prayers. When the doors finally opened, and the team rolled the boy past, breathing on his own, the father sank to his knees. He never spoke to Mara, not then, but he saw her. That mattered. News of the exposure spread in quiet circles, and consequences followed. Investigations bloomed, careers ended. The broker vanished. Mara returned to her routine, expecting retaliation, expecting nothing. Weeks passed. The boy recovered, learning to walk again, laughing with a voice that sounded brand new. His father still came by, nodding once when he saw Mara, as if storing a debt somewhere deep. The shock came months later, on a grey afternoon when the hospital parking lot filled with the low thunder of engines. 97 motorcycles rolled in formation, chrome catching the light like a warning. Staff froze, security braced. The Hells Angels had arrived, not roaring with menace but moving with purpose. They dismounted together, removed helmets together, and stood in a line that stretched like a scar across the asphalt. At the front was the father, now smiling in a way that startled everyone. Who knew him? They did not threaten, they delivered. A donation fund was announced, massive and immediate, aimed at transplant oversight, pediatric aftercare, and whistleblower protection. Independent auditors were named. A memorial wall for donors was commissioned. The bikers volunteered time, blood drives, logistics, things that required discipline and follow-through. The hospital, stunned, accepted. The city watched its assumptions unravel. For Mara, the change was quieter and heavier. She received a letter of commendation and an anonymous scholarship to finish the degree she had postponed for years. Her car, which had been limping along, was repaired without a bill. The boy returned one day, healthier than anyone expected, holding a crayon drawing of a nurse with a cape. Mara cried in the supply closet where no one could see. The story traveled far beyond the city. It wasn't about bikers or hospitals or corruption alone. It was about the courage to notice, the refusal to look away, and the way gratitude can take unexpected forms. 97 men with a reputation for destruction chose protection instead, not because they were told to, but because one nurse had chosen a child over her own safety. As this story draws close, if it has touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like the video, share it, and subscribe. These stories live on through your support, and your engagement helps more people find them when they need them most. Before the ending, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, or simply write the word kindness if you believe one good act can change everything. In the end, Mara returned to the 7th floor, to flickering lights and long nights, carrying a quiet truth with her. Systems can be bent, fear can be faced, and even the hardest reputations can soften when love is given a reason. Somewhere a boy grew up with a borrowed organ and a future, and somewhere 97 engines learned how to sound like mercy.